Hello, and welcome to my history of female action figures. Now, you would never think by today's standards that female action figures were like nearly obsolete in the late 70s going through the 80s. And that was the period in which I grew up. So, female action characters were so amazing to me, and I preferred them much more than their male counterparts. So finding these action figures was a treat for me, and I'm going to run through a bit of a history of the figures that I've had, that I've wanted, and go through what made them popular and great by today's standards. Now, one of the only regrets of my childhood was not getting my hands on an original Princess Leia from the Star Wars action figure line. I truly believe I think only one of my friends actually had a Princess Leia action figure. So, I mean, at that point in time, boys wanted to play with the male characters. Who wanted to play with the female characters, right? Huh? One of the first female action figures that I really owned was Scarlet from G.I. Joe, and I was so happy about that. Now, she didn't look amazingly feminine, and while at that point in time that didn't matter, it was the fact that they had a Scarlet action figure. It was just stupendous to me, and I was a little bit disappointed that she had short hair because in the cartoon she had a long ponytail as well. So that was a little bit offsetting to me, but I was willing to work with it. It wasn't very often that I got new action figures. A lot of times I got my action figures from either garage or yard sales or thrift stores. So when I got Tila from He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, that was a big deal for me. Brand new. I would later gain Evil-Lyn as well. Not new, but it was an awesome figure to have. Now, Tila still didn't seem really all that feminine, and even though she didn't feature long hair in the cartoon, I eventually ended up taking a piece of red fabric and gluing it to the back of her head, because she had this amazing swivel action. You would like pull back on her arm and she'd snap back, and attaching this red fabric to the back of her head as if she had long hair made that hair kind of whip around. Not gay at all, am I? Now, the next figure that I actually got brand new was Cheetara from the Thundercats. I was so excited about this. Thundercats was one of my favorite cartoons of all time. Cheetara was awesome, and she had her own action figure, and that was awesome. So amazing, and I really, really loved it. In fact, I took it to school, and I was so happy to show it off, and then it was stolen from me. One of the other really cool figures that I got brand new was the Superpowers Wonder Woman. Now, this is one of the rare figures that actually featured long hair that draped, around the shoulders. Cheetara had longer hair, but it was kind of swept back as if it was blowing in the wind. As I said, Scarlet didn't have long hair. I think one of the only other figures at the time that did feature long hair was Baroness from G.I. Joe, which was a figure I never actually attained either. So this Wonder Woman was actually pretty cool. So she featured long hair, and she had like an actual lasso, and when you like squeeze her legs together, she went like this. So that was pretty cool. I really enjoyed that figure a lot. Now, to show my love of actual female characters, I was never a fan of Voltron. But one day in a store, I saw the figure for Princess Allura. I mean, it was a female character. Of course, I had to have her. And at that time, another female action figure that I had was Steelheart from the TV show Silverhawks. Now, as we head into the late 80s, early 90s, we are embarking on a great, great moment in action figure history. Right before my obsession with X-Men, I found a figure of Storm from the X-Men, and it was really, really cool. It featured long hair, it was like great box art, and that kind of ushered in my love for X-Men as I know it today. It wasn't a very posable figure, and actually her head popped off, so I eventually kept gluing it back on, but then eventually it would just pop right back off. But we're going to see a whole new set of female action figures coming up because of the popularity of the X-Men animated series. Due to the popularity of the X-Men animated series, Storm got a bit of a remake. In fact, it was the same body, same head, and same like light up electric symbol that would go across her chest, except now it was silver, and then she had what was a really hokey version of her cape in plastic that came along with it. But Storm was not the only comic book character to be released about that time. As we know, Batman Returns was a big movie around the early 90s, and I did acquire a version of the Catwoman figure portrayed by Michelle Pfeiffer. Now, the next figure to come out of the X Men female wise was Rogue, and this was a big deal. The female characters that were released in any lineup were also very rare. So, say, like, if a box shipped with like 10 action figures in it, only one of those 10 would probably be a female action figure. So, when you went to the store and you saw a female action figure, you had to snag it up. Otherwise, you were just SOL. I was actually lucky to obtain a Rogue figure, and I thought it was a good interpretation at the time of her character. And later on, you would see that well, by the picture, it looks pretty lame now. And because of the popularity of the X Men animated series, we get our first figure of Jean Grey Phoenix. Jean Grey is my favorite character, so to have an action figure of her was super awesome, and I was so excited. And yeah, my geek like spectrum was just on fire. Now, because of the success of several animated series based on comic books in the 90s, you did get a lot more female action figures. For instance, Invisible Woman from Fantastic Four, Spider Woman, which was a variant of the Invisible Woman action figure, which was pretty prevalent in the 90s, repaints of existing figures. The X Men line was booming, and they often featured lesser known, less popular female characters, which didn't sell nearly as well. So in the 2000s, we have the birth of the superhero movie franchise, essentially. So we have 2000s X-Men, which featured action figures of well, pretty much every single character, every main character in the film, including all the females. Mystique, Jean Grey, Storm, and Rogue. The action figure industry is booming at this point, and everybody wants action figures of everything. And then retro figures are coming out, based on past toys or with newer versions and updated things, and it was a great time to be a collector. Now, while female action figures were a lot more prevalent, there was still a lot of backlash about toys in general. When the first Avengers movie was released, there was nothing of the character Black Widow as far as toys were concerned, and that raised concerns with the actors in the film, so that dynamic has even changed since then. So nowadays we are getting amazing action figures, and not just males but females as well. If you go to a toy store, any store that sells toys, you're going to find so many different female characters. And it's truly amazing. And I still gravitate toward the female characters because of growing up without them so much. And it's a fun thing to collect. I will probably buy a female character over a male character any day. And there are so many that are in my collection once again. Now, I don't have a lot of my original female action characters. In fact, I don't have a lot of my original action figures at all. It's one of the bigger regrets in my life because if I held on to them, I would have this amazing collection. Now, I've been able to find an original Tila and Evil-Lyn at a Goodwill, so that was fun to get. And I did this isn't my original Phoenix, but I did find an original Phoenix. So, looking back and trying to find some of these loose figures is also kind of fun. But some of the female characters that we're getting nowadays is quite amazing. This is the latest Phoenix action figure to come out. Here is Wonder Woman from the Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice movie. This is Medusa from the Marvel's Inhumans Legends series line. This is an actual, Walgreens exclusive figure. I am so proud to own this figure of General Leia Organa from Star Wars The Last Jedi. And here is a really cool Marvel Legends series, Invisible Woman. Now, I'm interested to hear what were some of your favorite female action figures growing up. What are some of your favorite female action figures to date? Please share in the comments below. Thank you for watching this video. Love and light to you all.